What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour TV. Another video today on the second channel for Amateur Hour Studios. On this channel, it gives me another outlet to talk about various NBA related topics, especially concerning the Toronto Raptors, which I already do on my main channel, Amateur Sports, with 9,000 followers. But I need more, and that's what this channel is for. So if you like what you see from today's video, be sure to drop a like to support and consider subscribing for more NBA and Raptors videos all throughout the off season. And if you're not subscribed to the main channel, make sure you're doing that as well. We've been doing really well on that channel last few days and on this channel. But today, what I wanted to do, I wanted to revisit the draft board that I created for the 2022 NBA draft. If you're watching my stream, you saw it. If you follow me on any social media, you saw it as well. I had 10 players, a top 10 ranked players that I believe the Raptors could have selected and should have selected with that 33rd overall pick, which ultimately ended up being Christian Koloko. If you've not seen my draft board, you'll see exactly where Koloko is on my list in this one. But essentially, 10 players ranked number 1 to 10, 1 being the player I wanted the most in that spot, 10 being the player I wanted least out of those 10, but there were a lot of players other than those 10 that I did not want at all. So let's get into the list. I have a little slide deck to help us get us through this one again. So first of all, here's the list. We have David Roddy, Justin Lewis, JAYLIN Williams, Christian Koloko, who obviously ended up going to the Raptors, Andrew NEMBHARD, TREVOR KEELS, Josh MINOTT, BRYCE McGoWENS, Caleb Houstan, and Wendell Moore. So we're going to look at all of them. We're going to see where they actually ended up and what I think about it. So for starters, David Roddy, this was my guy. This was my guy. After watching this guy's tape, learning a lot about the player, I was enamored. An absolute tank of a player, 6'6", 260, 7'1" wingspan. Oh man, his handles, takes guys off the dribble, step back threes, like his 3-level score. I wanted him really bad. He was projected to go late 30s, early 40s. Ended up going 23rd, and it would eventually end up on the Memphis Grizzlies. So I don't know. With all these mocks having him late 30s, early 40s, was I on to something here? Because he went way earlier than expected, and I mean, hey, I can absolutely see why, but unfortunately, he was not available for the Raptors. Second guy on this list is Justin Lewis. I compared him to OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby with a bit of better handles, to be honest. 3-level scorer, can guard the 1 through 5 on defense, very efficient, moves super well in transition, 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan. Like, this is a proper player, but to my absolute shock, could not believe this, he went undrafted. He went undrafted and ended up signing as an undrafted free agent for the Chicago Bulls. I actually can't, I cannot believe this guy went undrafted. I swear. And when he went undrafted, I was like, holy, Raptors need to sign this guy. Like, he fits the mold exactly for what we want in a player. Ended up going with Ron Harper Jr., who was a good player. Actually put out a video on him today on Amateur Sports if you want to go check that out. But I can't believe he went undrafted. I wanted him at 33rd, and he didn't even get drafted. The only thing I can see for him, why did he go undrafted? We're trying to figure out. The only thing I can see, one of the weaknesses I set for him was maybe lacks a little bit of effort on defense. Maybe that effort translated to workouts and practices. I'm not sure. That's the only thing I can see. But I think he's going to be a really good undrafted player. I think he's got the ability to play competitively in the NBA. You know, not be a star, but a bench player, rotation player for sure at some point in his career. Next up on the list, however, at number 3 is JAYLIN Williams. And I really like JAYLIN Williams. Super smart basketball player, great defender, not the most athletically gifted, but his smarts make up for it. Stretch big potential, excellent playmaker out of the high post. Was available for the Raptors, but OKC were probably happy to see he went and got him at 34th. Actually, knowing OKC, they may have wanted Koloko, but they get JAYLIN Williams. I think that's a great pick for OKC. I think that's a great fit for JAYLIN Williams. Get some play time there, and I think they'll both be happy. I think he's got rotation player potential as well. Next one is Christian Koloko, and of course, as you know, the Raptor channel, I've talked about this guy so much in the main channel and on this channel. Not far off number 1 on my board, and I was pretty happy on draft night when the Raptors called his name at 33rd overall. Great pick for the Raptors. We've talked about him so much, we don't need to dwell on this one anymore. Number 5 was Andrew NEMBHARD. I just thought that drafting him would have been a great backup point guard because the team desperately needs that. We also need rim protection, which is why we did end up going with Koloko, and we needed a center. But would have been nice to get a backup guard for Fred VanVleet, which I think Andrew NEMBHARD was capable of doing from day one. Excellent shooter, good size for a point guard. But he wasn't available at that point. He went 31st overall to the Indiana Pacers instead. I guess Indiana were looking for a backup guard in their rebuilding phase, and Andrew's going to do well there, I think. Number 6 is TREVOR KEELS, a Lou Dort-style defender who was a 5-star prospect out of high school, underwhelmed in his season with Duke, but that 5-star potential still lingers if a team can get the most out of him. I thought the Raptors might have been a team who could get all of that out of him. He's supposed to be a really good three-point shooter, only shot 31% in college, is already a very good defender, retains the ball really well, good size, ultimately slipped a little bit in the draft and went 42nd overall to the New York Knicks. One of the picks, I think the only pick the Knicks actually kept and didn't trade away for future stuff, even though they need players. Well, what the hell are the Knicks doing on draft night? But TREVOR KEELS, I think, at 42nd overall is a very solid pickup. And, we'll see how the Knicks can actually develop him. Number 7 is Josh MINOTT. Now, this was a wild card for me. He is super, super athletic, and he's got a lot of those athletic traits that translates to potentially a really good player in the NBA. A lot of upside. I was just so curious about the player. I thought he fit, maybe the Raptors development want to work with him. Super raw, needs a long time to develop. Ultimately, he did fall a little bit in the draft, which I'm not particularly surprised with. I said you could probably see him going anywhere from 15 to 45. Well, he went 45th to the Minnesota Timberwolves. If the Minnesota Timberwolves can harness that potential, they could have a real player here. I swear, he has a ton of upside. If you want to go watch some tape, just dunk machine. His highlight tape is incredible. Some of the dunks that he's throwing down, but lacks a lot of the basketball fundamental skills right now. That certainly needs to improve, but super young. He's able to do that. Would have been interesting to see what the Raptors development team could do with him. Next up is BRYCE McGowens, number 8 on my draft board. Really, really good shooting guard. And for a not good Nebraska team, he had to carry their offense. Might have been a little inefficient while doing it, but there is a ton of skill, just explosive athleticism. This was a good player that I was interested in. A little bit surprised he fell to 40th overall. If I had made a full mock of the draft, I probably would have had this guy going late 20s. I'm pretty surprised he fell to 40. We'll see what the Hornets can do with him. I think he'll be great for their G League team. Good player, for real. Maybe just didn't quite fit Raptors, which is why I had him so low, but good player. Next up is Caleb Houstan, another Canadian on this list, along with Andrew Nembhard. This guy is just an absolute sniper from 3, a decent defender, and that's it. He literally doesn't do anything else. He shoots threes, he plays defense. Not good on the interior. Not good in mid-range. Not good getting to the rim. But he can dial in from 3 and snipe. Orlando decided at 32nd overall. I'm sorry for the typo. Orlando decided, how did that happen? At 32nd overall, that they wanted this player right before the Raptors were picking. If I had a mock for him, I would have had him probably late 30s, early 40s. A little bit surprised Orlando wanted him. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to draft somebody expecting, like a lot of Raptors especially will draft guys with high upside, where they want to get to a starting potential. I don't see a problem with drafting a guy can be a role player. For me, Caleb Houstan would be a great role player at some point in his career because of the shooting and defense. 3-and-D off your bench, a lot of teams could use that. But I thought somebody would maybe want to later in the draft, but Orlando maybe decided, hey, let's just go nab a guy that can be a good role player for us. We've got a lot of, scoring guards, ball handling guards. Why not get a forward who can play defense and come off the bench and hit some threes? I like the pick for Orlando. And number 10 on the list, last player, is Wendell Moore. Surprisingly, lowest on my list, but one of the highest out of everybody on it. 26, actually, other than David Roddy, but one of the highest. 26 overall to the Houston Rockets. I probably would have had him in that range, low 20s, early 30s, if I made a mock. Doesn't really excel at one particular thing, but it's kind of a Swiss Army knife player. Just does a lot of things well. And ultimately, the Houston Rockets in the rebuilding phase decided that would be a nice glue guy to have with their team. I would partially agree. I wouldn't have drafted him necessarily so early, but Houston maybe liked the fit. They liked the talent. They liked the upside. They went with Wendell Moore out of Duke. I mean, playing for Duke, you really learn how to win when you're over there. So, decent pick for Houston. Ultimately, I'm pretty happy with what we got in the draft. I don't think there were many surprises here other than the big one. Justin Lewis going undrafted. Like, I really was shocked with that one, and wish we could have got, man, if we got number 2 and number 4 on my draft board in the same draft with only 1 pick, that would have been crazy. But the Raptors ultimately decided to pass up on Lewis. And hey, it ain't just me on Lewis. There's a lot of people online saying, wow, Justin Lewis, great talent, didn't get drafted. I just want to figure out why, and I just don't really have the answer to that, other than maybe lack of discipline, lack of effort. I really don't know. Good player, but hey, I ain't gonna complain. I'm very happy with who the Raptors got with that the 33rd overall pick in the draft, getting Christian Koloko. We got full breakdowns on my main channel, Amateur Sports. I've talked about him over the week on this channel, how much I rate him as a player. I think there's a lot of potential there. Great job by the Raptors on draft night to get him, and I'm looking forward to the future. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. When you drop a like, YouTube recommends this video to more people like yourself and on more recommended pages, and it really helps out the channel. So it takes you a second to do, helps me out a ton, and make sure for more NBA and Raptors content all throughout the offseason in this little maybe less professional vibe, you subscribe to Amateur Hour TV. I'm going to keep you guys entertained along with the Amateur Sports main channel, which you'd also should be subscribed to. We're almost at 9,500 subs, on the road to 10K. Can't wait to hit that milestone, and you guys help along the way. But I'll see you again next time for another video on Amateur Hour TV.